Hi, my name is Jacob Warren, and I lead the RAY project at the Langton. So RAY is the Radiation Around You project, where we aim to gain better knowledge of background radiation. So what we want to do is we want to create a radiation map of the UK, and we will do this by using the infamous time picture that I'm sure most of you have used before. It kind of gives frames like this, where it offers a visual output of the radiation that's detected. A good way to think about the time picture is it's like a camera that can take pictures of the radiation that's detected. So from here you can see lots of the radiation that's detected. That right there is a new one, which is pretty interesting. I detected that on my dining room table. That's an alpha there, which is the blob, and beta and gamma, which are the dots. Beta is a squiggly line. So what we do is we won't have these saved in image format like this, but we'll have them saved in the ASCII XYZ format that's Abstract has already talked about. And from that, what we can do is we can upload that to TAPAS, which is the Time Pix Analysis Platform at school, which was made by Will Fernell last year, and he wrote an EPQ on it, and it's pretty good. And what that does is it analyzes data. It tells you how many gamma particles that the chip has detected, how many betas and alphas and muons and protons and stuff like that, which is really useful. And from that, we can upload that folder onto the ArcGIS web platform, which is where we'll get our radiation map from. So it would have been over a year and a bit ago, there was a solar eclipse. And what we got lots of you guys who kind of took data for us, and we got some pretty funky results. We analysed all of the data using TAPAS, and what we found is that the largest dip in radiation was about 100 minutes after the maximum totality of the solar eclipse, which we weren't really expecting. It was kind of difficult to come up with a reason for this, But we had some long discussions, myself and Sam Gooch being the person that led the project last year, and we kind of came up with a few reasons. One reason is because of the finite speeds of the particles of radiation. We would expect a delay, and the timeline should exist because as the particles move from the moon to the Earth, they don't just instantly appear, do they? They take time. So the speed of solar wind is roughly 400 kilometers per second, and the distance between the Earth and the moon is roughly 385,000 kilometers. So that accounts for about a 960-second delay, and that's roughly 16 minutes. So it's not really sufficient to explain this 100-minute delay, but possibly partnered with the idea of the atmospheric reactions, such as radical reactions that occur in the atmosphere. They won't occur during the solar eclipse because they need to be bombarded with radiation, and you won't really get that radiation from the solar eclipse. So what we would expect to see is a potential well, and that potential well would need to be refilled before the camera rate would return to normal. So that's more likely than the previous hypothesis, as it explains why the camera rate starts to return to normal after the solar eclipse, which is what you can kind of see here, turning to normal. However, it does suggest that the rate should still drop throughout the entirety of the solar eclipse, which we don't observe. It's normal around there, and then it drops after the maximum totality. So that's, again, not really sufficient. So if any of you guys do have any really good ideas for why this is the case, it would be really great if you could tell us or email us or something. But yeah. So this kind of led us to try and use the chips in other events to do with the sun when it is most active. This led on to sunspots. Now, sunspots are dark and usually erratically shaped spots on the sun, as you can see there. And they're of a lower temperature than the rest of the sun, on the surface that is. And that's due to the changes in magnetic field flux. And those changes inhibit convection. Therefore, they're of a higher solar output, despite the fact that they're cooler. And what I hope to do is I hope to monitor the radiation that we will detect on Earth and see what effect these sunspots would have. So as you can see here, we're at the end of a sunspot cycle. The sunspot cycle usually lasts about 11 years. So over the next 5 to 10 years, we would expect to go through a trough and a peak. And those are obviously the key areas of interest where we want to detect the radiation. However, the problem with this is that the sun's really only responsible for about 12% of the background radiation levels that we experience. So it won't have that much of a great influence, but the great thing about the variety of projects that we have at the Langton is that we can compare our data that we detect and link it to this sunspot cycle. We can compare it with the lucid data that we get. And the great thing about the lucid data that Abhishek and Charles said is that it's in cubic formation, and that means that they can find where that particle track is coming from by seeing the way it strikes the chip and the direction, which is really cool. So that means we can compare it with that as well as the data that we get on the ISS, the International Space Station, and the Olympics data. So what I kind of thought about is are there any other things that we can use that would have other things on the sun that would have a larger effect on the background radiation levels? And that kind of led to other things like coronal holes. I don't actually have a picture of a coronal hole up there, but a coronal hole is basically this area of the sun's corona. The corona being, have you all seen pictures of an eclipse? It's where the moon covers the sun, and then the ring around the moon. That's the corona. And the corona is a darker and colder. A coronal hole is an area of darker and colder, and the plasma is of lower density. And that's because of the lower energy in lower energy levels as well as the lower gas levels. So the coronal holes, they're part of the corona, as I've said, but they're also constantly changing. They're constantly reshaping, and that's because the sun's corona it isn't uniform. That means the data we'll be getting will be interesting to link it with the shapes of the corona. The larger the coronal hole, the larger the solar output would be. That's shown because the solar wind can escape through a coronal hole with a very large speed, which means that you would expect to see a higher solar output for the larger the coronal hole. Also, which images I have got here, that's a solar flare. And a solar flare is essentially a giant eruption on the surface of the sun. It emits very high energy radiation and generally very high intense radiation. And that's a coronal mass ejection. A coronal mass ejection is just like an enormous bubble of plasma drenched with magnetic field lines. They're ejected from the sun, and they have a large output, a large effect on the Earth's background radiation also. It's probably worth mentioning that most of the radiation we'll be detecting probably won't be dangerous. It's not, if we do get a solar flare and we do detect a plasma radiation, it won't be dangerous. It's not something you need to be worried about. So if you do detect like a giant blob on the screen, like from the pictures you display, the chip detected, it's most likely not dangerous. Now obviously this is going to be a shorter term project, as these things only last for a few days, and will mean that we would need to have much better communication between schools if you guys also want to take collections with us. So that's really all I've got to say. Any questions, I'll happily answer them. I'll also be around after the presentation. Thank you.